when they first introduced lockdown, at school everyone was happy about it because we all just wanted time off school. But no one really expected it would go on for as long as it did. We thought, because a lot of people in their heads didn't realise that lockdown meant you couldn't travel anywhere or go anywhere. People, because when you're in a holiday, you go home, but you spend time and you can go out and go places and go with your family places. But lockdown meant you couldn't go anywhere, so it's completely different. And I don't think a lot of people really understood that. I think about a week or two before lockdown was introduced, football stopped. So that was a bit earlier, and in that time, just keeping fit obviously wouldn't be the same because you don't have the same facilities as what you usually have, and also you need to motivate yourself a lot more when you're in your own space, in your own home, and obviously there's no real, seeing the same thing every day for ages is difficult. But I think me, dad, mom, all got through it. Most people, it was difficult for everyone, but we still got through it, and hoping that it would get better on the other side. But it still seems very dark, right, for what's ahead, but we have to be optimistic. To keep fit through lockdown, they instantly didn't want anyone to simply just drop within a lot of areas of fitness and stuff. They wanted to keep everyone active for as long as possible, and they did send out help sheets with lots of exercises, so got on with that. For the first couple weeks they would do regular Zoom meetings where you would be with either a physio or sports scientist, and they would explain things, and maybe you'd even do a workout session with them, and they would explain a lot of things that would help, and a lot of ways to make sure that you're still ready for it whenever we come out. But what I did personally was just a lot of cardio, because obviously I'm a goalkeeper, so I don't do as much running as the outfielders anyway. So keeping stamina and running up had to be a must. So just go on maybe I think I did jogs at least once a day, maybe 4 or 5 times a week, and then do a workout depending on what the day was like. I mean, every day was the same because you weren't going anywhere, but most days were the same. Just get up. I think I usually did my workout stuff in the afternoon, so I have the morning to do other things. But that was how I stayed decent through lockdown. There was a few things that I definitely needed and wanted to make sure I wouldn't not forget, but not be able to do when I get back. But a lot of things that I have learned kind of just stick with you. So no matter how long you stay off, if you need to do that, you remember. And but things, it wasn't so much remembering, it was just keeping active, because obviously for goalkeeper you need sharp reflexes, so that was one of the main things, probably the main thing to keep awake and alert, because that can slowly become not as good as it was. Because if you take a lot of time, we've been off for ages, if you take that much time off and you don't do anything, then obviously you'll be a lot slower than you were, and you'd have to regain all of that. But what I did was, because I got quite a few siblings who like to whack footballs around, Just got in the garden and just started doing, because there's a lot of, when you don't have a massive area, because obviously training, it's a football pitch, you got a lot of space, but even just going out, you weren't allowed, so you were minimized to the space you had, and not everyone has acres of land in their back garden, obviously, and so we just had to, it was actually good for reflexes because it was all close range, so it wasn't like blasting the ball for ages, so that was good. But more, I think one thing that stuck with me that I did have to practice a little bit but not as much was just long range passing, but we didn't have the space to do that. So when I got back, I was a bit, not 100% with it, but I was still was there. When everything was put on hold, like everything, it all felt weird because there's only so much on Netflix, on channels that you can watch without remembering that things that happen every Saturday, every Sunday, or just every week, because football happens every week. Any sport happens all the time, and if that's usually on TV all the time, so you never really miss out on that. And if you are someone that supports not just football, any sport, and you have a team that you support and you like watching just that sport, and you don't see that for ages, and you can't even do it yourself, or if you have the facilities to do that, you can, but it won't be the same. It does feel weird, and it gets a bit frustrating because then obviously things happen, players go places, and but then you also just get bored. Like, you can watch stuff on YouTube and whatever, but just the things that actually happen, and sport gives you a good, like, what would you say, it encourages you more. If you play whatever sport, if you play basketball and you watch basketball, it makes you want to play basketball more. If you watch football, for me, it makes me want to play football more. So when you're not watching it, you don't really get that same encouragement, but when it's there, it does have a big change and a big impact. Well, when they announced that lockdown would be eased, I was just because when lockdown came, it wasn't like we had a certain date when we exactly knew when we were coming out. It was just go along with it until we know at the time when we can come out. But when they said we will come out in lockdown, say in 2 weeks, I was just counting down the days, and I think football was introduced about maybe 3 weeks after lockdown was eased, because they had to go through a lot of measures and stuff to keep that all the measures in place. And but I was definitely excited because obviously you haven't seen friends in ages. And I wanted to get out the house because been in the house for 6 months, just seeing the same thing all over and over again. And just wanting to get out, because traveling to school, we just didn't do that for ages. So just getting fresh air and just going some other place other than your back garden or front garden or just to the shop, it felt good. But then football came, and then even into the first couple of weeks, they were still saying like only maybe 40-minute sessions, and that's it, because they couldn't allow a lot of people in the same area at once. But then it started getting better, and it started getting back to normal. But in the beginning few weeks, I just couldn't. I was trying to maximize every minute because I knew it wouldn't be long. Like, because I'd get there, and usually, back now, I have a decent 2-hour session, but back then it was like half an hour to an hour. And it would just be fitness, like getting all the outfielders especially back up to a standard. But I was definitely excited to get back to doing things that are in my everyday life. Well, when football restarted, and the league was considered over when lockdown came, and then they started a new season came. Obviously, everyone was optimistic for the new season, so we started getting prepared for it, and I think all the clubs prepared every player, goalkeeper, outfielder, well for getting back into Premier League life. I don't think anyone was really that hard hit, like when it came to their performance. But a game that stood out like immediately was a 7-2 win against Liverpool for Villa, and that really like shocked so many people. But it also brought back that feeling of that football's back, because then you actually have something to talk about at school other than what were you doing in lockdown. Like, then you got something to speak to Liverpool fans about, and yeah, and that was a good talking point for a while. It still is. And yeah, just having football and being able to turn on the TV and see a match just feels a lot better now. One of the major measures and restrictions that they've put in place for football in general, not just football, most sports, but I'm talking about football, is that there's no supporters, there's no real atmosphere for a game. Like, obviously, it's not about the fans, it's more about just the game itself, but it does take a big part away from football and any sport, because you don't want to go to a football match and play, because even imagine it's the World Cup final and you've got no one in a massive stadium other than the subs on the bench and your coaches. It's not going to feel anywhere near the same, and being at this age playing football, no parents are allowed to watch, so the encouragement that you get from the side does help your game, and then to not have it there, it does improve you, because then it means that when you don't have people there to push you along and you can do it yourself, it means that when there are people there, you got like double encouragement, because then you got more from yourself and others. So if anything, it makes you play better, but at the same time it is missing a little bit of, you know, that atmosphere in the air. And like when someone scores, or say it's a penalty shootout, you don't really have that same momentum in the game. But I think it will come back to normal soon enough, so we need to hope for that. This whole year has been very, very slow, like with a lot of things. And then when football come back, when everything started opening up again, it was just going back to the club felt weird. But then there was a lot of, just because everyone knew that if another big lockdown was coming, they wanted to get the most out of the time they had. So it was just train, getting as many hours as you can, practice as much. Get on Zoom meetings with your coaches, do as much on and off the pitch, make sure you're working hard in school and stuff. And then for me, all that work and training eventually paid off, because apparently I had some England scouts or coaches getting either watching my games or getting sent footage of my games, and they chose me for a England camp, which was an under 15s England camp that took place on the 19th of December. So, and that was like a real good ending to like a long, hard year that was filled with a lot of just not more like just empty, just not a lot to do in it. And then to have that at the end of the year really gives you another drive and motivation. And yeah, they gave me the opportunity to go to St. George's, where to have an England camp with about 30 other players, where we had a 3-day experience of what the club is about, what England's about. We got to meet the staff, and just meeting each other, because we come from all across the board. There's some from Arsenal, there's some from West Ham, there's some down south, there's some up north, but no matter where we came from, we all just got on with it and just took every minute like as it was. So that was a real good end to this year for me, and I hope that there's more of those big events to come. When you get told that this is for you, there's a sense of like you don't believe it first, because to go from, it's a big step obviously, and just to get selected out of all of England is a really good privilege. And then for a couple of days I just still didn't believe that it was me out of a lot. Like there's probably hundreds, thousands out there that would like the same opportunity, and they gave me the chance. And yeah, then just playing a game with the others and people from all across England who have different backgrounds and different playing styles, and all have to be merged into one team, felt really good, because then it just shows that if you put enough work and like effort and dedication into something that you enjoy, then hope most of the time it pays off and you get rewarded for your efforts. So that was good to hear. Usually we'd play another nation, so it'd be whoever, Belgium, France, Spain. They would either come here, we'd go there, and we'd play them for the final day match. But because of COVID, we had to do an internal game, which was 11v11, and I was made captain for my team, and that didn't feel real, because they'd obviously thought it through, gone through everyone, and to be honest, I didn't expect it, because I see some of the other players there, and I think probably out of all of them, I was probably one of the smallest, and that was a real shock, because at my club I'm one of the tallest, and then to go there I see people who are really tall compared to me and really strong, but then they gave me the captaincy, and that was a real good privilege, and that just gives you an extra motivation for the game, and I think I did well in the game. We ended up winning 2-0, so that was an extra boost, and just to be given that makes you think, oh, I want to do this again. So then you always have in your mind that someone's watching, even if it's at your club, wherever you play, someone could be watching, so you have to play your best all the time, so then when these opportunities come by, you get rewarded for these things. So yeah, that was a big takeaway from the experience of the camp. But another thing was just they kept saying over the camp, just to show who you are, right? They kept saying that to everyone, just so that they could see what they have within these camps and what potential they have for future England squad, and yeah, so I think I did my best, and yeah, hope to be a part of a few more in the future then. I've thought about it and I still can't find an answer. Honestly, I'm still not sure. It might be because of, yeah, I really don't know. It had to be some reason. Didn't ask them. But I think it just has to do with the way you go into a game. I think they might have chosen me because of like being vocal and presence. Like, even though compared to everyone in the team, I was one of the smallest there, but still wouldn't care if it meant I still have to slide tackle someone. I would still do that. That's not gonna stop me. But maybe it's that, maybe it's something else, but I'd like to find out. There are quite a few things that I would take from having a lockdown at that size, because when you don't, because obviously now you could have a lockdown because we just had one in November. You never know when the next one's coming. It's highly likely that there will be another one coming. But so that just shows that you need to maximize when it comes to football. You need to maximize every opportunity you get, because obviously, even if there was no lockdowns, you never know when anything could happen. Injuries, things that happen at the club. You never know when stuff like that happens, and if you're not taking every minute of it, then you're practically just wasting your time. So that's one of the things I would take, so that if there is another lockdown, or if there's not, I'm still ready to get on with it and just take every time I have and allowed on the pitch, off the pitch, in school, out of school, to maximise time as much as possible. Because if we're stuck at home again, then it's back to square one basically, and then you go back in, back out, and it's a bit of a back and forth. So you never know, but at the moment, you don't know what's around the corner, so you gotta take every minute the way it is. Obviously, every year you say, "Oh, we're gonna do this year. We're gonna do new changes, new this, new that." But obviously, that have got different. I'm very optimistic for next year. For football, especially, want to get to different places, like in the academy, and move up. But when it comes to this year, I'd probably just say that, like I said before, just take every minute the way it is, and maximize time, because still hasn't set. It's like an unsettled world right now, so there's not a lot of clarity. So you never know when things are gonna happen, when things are not gonna happen. You never know. One day you could be on the football pitch, next day you have training, but you're not allowed to go because they put new measures in, and with a lot of different reasons they disallow things. But for next year, I'd probably just say just to work twice as hard, on and off the pitch, in school, out of school, just everywhere. That's for me, because, and also I'm probably thankful for support from everyone who was there, family included and friends, but because there's people who didn't have anyone around them this year, and who would be spending lockdown 6 whole months by themselves, isolated in their own house, just with themselves, and that would have been a lot harder. But obviously I have a lot of siblings, a lot of family around, so that made it easier. Still difficult for everyone, but if they weren't there, it probably would have been a lot harder. So yeah, that was a good influence. And when you got family, you have bigger encouragement, especially my mom, who's always just get this done, always wants the best. And dad is always there to get me places, and also gives the best advice for games when nervousness kicks in and stuff. But obviously nervous is a good thing, but you always need someone there to just understand But yeah, so this year was very hectic, but at the same time, you never know what could happen. You never know what could happen next year, but hope for the best anyway.